So we're going to do a quick little demo of both how to paint some skin tone colors or how to mix a few and how to paint a sheer sleeve over it. So I've created this kind of medium skin tone, touch of olive in it, with sienna, white, and a touch of green to neutralize the red in the sienna. You can also mix it with just green and red, of course, but it sort of helps me skip a step. I'm going to use some purpley, adding more red to that, and some purple violet colors to make a shadow across the bottom. I'm not adding in any white into this, so I'm working with it wet into wet, and it's blending naturally on its own, but it's pretty violet, pretty red when it's fresh out the palette. And I'm adding a touch of extra like that ochre color to where light might hit, or to add a little bit of a golden tone to warm up some areas. I'm painting all the way through this except for where the cuff is solid. When we paint sheer, we like to paint the skin first and then do the sheer colors on top of it. I like to add just a touch of extra like crimson, that kind of pinkishy red, into places where blood pools, so the tips of fingertips and the inner part of your elbow. It helps to deepen my shadows and make people feel a little bit more alive. So once we get our little highlights in here, just a touch of white mixed in, we're going to let this dry down, and then we will come back. Here we are, we're dry, and we're going to begin the white. So the first thing I'm going to do for the sleeve, I'm sort of inspired by the one on the left there, is paint the cuff solid, and then I'm going to take pure white. I don't have any gel medium or anything in this, and a pretty dry brush, and start kind of outlining it. So it's going to get more opaque, more white, and anywhere that it doubles up on itself. So pleats, drapes, wrinkles, and also around the edges where, if you think about it, you're looking at sort of when it goes on the edge or wraps around something, you're actually seeing it multiplied because it's wrapping, the act of wrapping around to become kind of a circle is adding it up. So you're safe to go ahead and kind of add in the white along the outside edge. I'm letting it drape down over this sort of section where I've put in a wrinkle that wraps the arm, and there's some pleats coming out of the arm's eye and out of the cuff that I'm adding extra pure white into to sort of illustrate them. How sheer your fabric is entirely depends. So we could have stopped, without that last pass just there and left it a lot more sheer in between. The one that we're looking at on the side actually has, it's like a polyester chiffon, so it's more opaque than that. Be aware that as you're using your titanium white, which is what most of you have, it's going to cool things down as it goes over them. So it's especially going to mute anything that's warm. It's going to make things look a little grayed out, a little cooler in tone. But you can see where the arm is still showing through. There's that spot right along the upper forearm that's nice and bright coming through, and then everything else is a little bit more muted down. I used a little bit of water to help make the super sheer layer, that final blending layer after I did the bright white. Just a quick pass with quite a bit of water was enough to just like sell it, that those things were mixing together and sort of marrying my wrinkles and my different areas of high opacity with where it passed over the arm and was more translucent. I like to add a little bit of shadow even into my whites. You could stop here. I'm going to take a little bit of Payne's Gray mixed with a touch of violet, quite a bit of medium so it's translucent, and emphasize some of that gathering and pleating into the wrist and into the arm's eye. And to help just add some depth into these brighter white areas in the folds. So they're still opaque, but even those areas have some dimensionality to them. Now the sleeve in our research image has a Swiss dot. You could do this with a paint pen, you could do this with a gel pen, you can do it with your paintbrush. So I've picked up high opacity, no medium of the white acrylic. I'm doing just little tiny stipples. I like to rotate my brush so I'm getting different shapes of the stipples, because generally speaking your brush isn't perfectly round on the bottom because it's got a lot of paint in it. So if I keep changing sort of the angle I'm holding it, rotating the brush a little bit, it helps to vary the shape of the little dots so that they seem more organic. And there we go. So you can see it's got a nice kind of level of shape. I like to go through and clean up, especially for rendering purposes when we want to know kind of how something is built as well as what the fabric is, how it drapes. I like to use a pencil to add a little bit of dimensionality, especially to sheer fabrics. That edge can be kind of the determining factor of what the body, the hand of the fabric is. So adding a bit of pencil and line work helps me to bump those back out, especially when I'm working on, like, this is white on a barely there gray background, so it just helps bring it back to life. I dipped my pencil in white to add that highlight into the hand because I don't have a brush small enough right next to me. So this is our finished product. Touch of line work, touch of white. You can see where it's showing through underneath. You can see how much it cooled down, and I hope that that helps. Good luck.